Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining the South African Chamber. We are based in the UK and we look to bring you information of various kinds and various interests. And one of our themes is our AI theme. We're running about 4 to 6 webinars on the subject, picking up 45-minute slots very quickly, talking about some of the key issues. George Honiball, who works for Microsoft, is using AI in their own environment and is equally training people like ourselves, people who are interested on this AI journey that we are all on. And some live tips and tricks he'll be sharing with us that we can all take home and do better next time we touch the AI environment. So, George, I'll hand over to us. We've got 45 minutes together. Let's enjoy.
Fantastic. And Sharon, thank you for the kind words in the introduction. So my name is George Honiball, currently working for a little company that makes windows, based in the UK. I'm sort of 10 minutes away from Reading, where our head office is in Thames Valley Park. I've been with Microsoft for 4.5 years now. Before that, I was based in South Africa, and I was actually using the solution called Viva that I'm now supporting, and I sort of look after 4 countries and one whole continent. So I look after Denmark, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and then just been given Africa to look after. So I'm dealing with all my old South African companies that I've been working for and working with for many decades. So really wonderful to be back in Africa again. I've had a few meetings in Nigeria and Kenya and many in South Africa as well. So really good to have you all here today. We're going to be talking today about using generative AI in the new world of work. I've got only 5 slides to share today, so it's going to be very much a workshop, and I do encourage you to follow along in the background. AI is here to stay. It is not something that is going to be used only for good. We do know that there are people out there using it for bad, but obviously from a Microsoft perspective, we're really pushing using AI for good, the ethical use of AI and using it to sort of support our customers and set our customers up for success. So as Sharon mentioned, this is part 2 of a 4-part series that I'm going to be talking around. A few months ago in May, it felt a lot longer ago than that, but we just did a quick introduction to generative AI. I gave you a bit of history about Chat GPT, and then I did do a quick demonstration. I'll be able to do a more lengthy demonstration today of specifically Copilot in Word and then in Teams as well. And just to confirm that Copilot, the AI tool that Microsoft has got AI built into most of its elements now. So it's in PowerPoint, it's in Word, it's in Excel, it's in the browser chat, and then obviously integrating into Teams as well. And as we were talking a little bit earlier, there are different levels of maturity of the system. Some of the AI engines are really sophisticated and advanced, and they don't need a lot of coaching or explaining. Other ones are sort of still a little bit immature. They sort of don't really seem to understand you really well. They don't think the way you think. So you really need to be far more explicit in the way that you prompt and ask questions and probe. So today we're going to be talking about leveraging generative AI for business innovation. And then in October, we're going to be talking about the creative application of generative AI. This has been very controversial. I know the Screenwriters Guild went on a massive strike a few months ago because of generative AI being used and sourcing a lot of the sort of content that these people have generated, and they're not getting compensated for that. So that's what's caused a lot of confusion, a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness and negativity about AI and using it for creative purposes, even in the music industry. And I think what's still coming is very much in the video and the film industry, because as generative AI becomes stronger, you're going to see that the technology is going to advance very quickly. I mean, at the moment, I would say it's kind of where in certain elements it's sort of where a primary school child would be operating, some of them now sort of at a secondary school level. but you will see it eventually being able to operate at a graduate level or even higher. So that is what's coming, and it is an exciting time to be alive. And I really encourage you to try out specifically the free version of AI that most people are using and talking about is in Chat GPT. So if you haven't used Chat GPT yet, I do encourage you, while I'm talking, open up your browser, search for the OpenAI ChatGPT. There are a lot of other sort of competitor products out there that are claiming to be ChatGPT, even applications online that you can install which are not true ChatGPT search engines. So just be careful of that as well. And then the final presentation that I'll be doing in November, so it'll be sort of winter here in the UK, we'll be looking at the future of work with AI assistance and what new opportunities and new jobs AI is going to be creating. So just in terms of setting the scene very quickly, I'm going to be covering both free as well as premium features that are available today, mainly on a Microsoft and ChatGPT OpenAI front. I know that there are other versions out there as well, but today we're going to be focusing mainly in that area. I've only got 5 slides, as I said earlier, so please do encourage you. This is going to be a workshop. It's not a very dry can demonstration. It's going to be very interactive. As I said earlier, I'll be sharing the prompts with you, so I encourage you to try the prompt out yourself, build on it, build a relationship with the AI engine that you're using. We are recording, so please, if you do not want your video to appear in the recording, please just keep your video off. As I said, you are welcome to come off mute and ask questions out live, but otherwise you're welcome to use the chat. We have enabled chat for the session today as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I know for some of you, you've not really used AI too much, so we'll be starting off very, very basically, and then hopefully picking up to a more advanced and sophisticated way of using the system as well. So just a quick recap. As I mentioned earlier, AI is definitely here to stay. It is a tool that can be used really, really effectively to help you be more productive, help you sort of from a creative perspective as well, help you to see things from a different angle. Often, if you're preparing a presentation or a speech or something like that, you see it from your side. And it's really wonderful to get feedback from another person who maybe doesn't know you or the topic as well. And the benefit is, and that's why Microsoft are calling their tool Copilot, because it's literally somebody sitting next to you, sort of in the front of the aeroplane, helping you to support you and be more effective. So it's not autopilot. It's not here to get rid of or replace humans. It's very much a companion that you can co-create with as well. In terms of business innovation and creativity, even in the arts and the performing cultures area, AI is not there to take that away or replace people. AI can only build on what we as human beings have already done. Obviously, even from an intelligence perspective, we are feeding the AI tool human intelligence and human knowledge and information, and that is what the AI will be using as its foundation. So there's nothing creepy, there's nothing weird about it. I know a lot of science fiction movies really make AI seem like this really scary thing that's going to come in and turn there's one sort of humorous story that was written where AI is basically determined that its only goal was to create paper clips, and it discovered that humans have got a lot of iron in them. So eventually it ended up converting humans to paper clips. So it was a humorous analogy. Hopefully we're not all turned into paper clips, but there are a lot of negative people out there saying terrible things about AI. Then other people saying really weird things. So for example, Elon Musk a few weeks ago, he said openly that AI is basically going to be doing a lot of the jobs, and we as human beings can choose if we want to work or don't want to work. So that's sort of really groundbreaking, and a lot of people took exception to what he was saying. But I think after working with the system, you can see that it is going to really be transformational. So I do encourage you to try it out. As I said earlier, we please need to embrace AI. It's not going to be going anywhere. Some of it is not working great. Some of it is still very immature, but it really is developing and growing and improving significantly. I mean, if I compare even Copilot in PowerPoint, initially it was very simple. It would give me 4 slides with sort of very primitive images. Now it can even generate videos for you with really good quality content. You can ask it to make changes and improve it, and it does it without any hesitation. So it really is a lot quicker as well. So I'm just going to go to the last slide and just confirm what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be using generative AI to brainstorm and evolve business ideas. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be putting prompts in the chat, so feel free to go to the chat and use the prompts yourselves, change them, tweak them, play with them. They're not perfect. But please feel free to just venture out there and get out. And I think that was the message that Sharon gave me last time, is she just wants the members of the community to just try out AI and just sort of take those few little baby steps to just get confident and build your knowledge and experience of using AI. I'm going to be doing an interactive demo of Copilot and Chat GPT in a business context. So sort of changing tack a little bit from the last time I spoke to you. And then obviously very importantly is the ethical considerations, specifically from a South African context. And I've done something really interesting. I actually asked Chat GPT to evaluate the POPI Act and come up with recommendations of how it could be improved. And it was really phenomenal. I mean, Sharon, I don't know if you've tried something similar as well, but Chat GPT, from a legal perspective, it can look for loopholes, it can look for contradictions. It really is amazing. And it's very sort of unsympathetic almost, because it doesn't have, unfortunately, any emotion. So it can sort of cut to the quick very briefly. So if you ask it for feedback, it can actually be sometimes very direct, and you kind of taken aback at how direct it is. But it really does. I mean, for us, specifically as South Africans, we do tend to be very direct. So it's really difficult when you're dealing with people in Europe, for example, who are very politically correct. And we had a meeting a few months ago with a partner, and we were skirting around issues and not talking about the elephant in the room. South Africans tend to talk about elephants very easily because they're very natural for us. And I asked the engine to basically come up with a summary of any topics that we were sort of avoiding talking about, any areas that were kind of contentious or could be leading to conflict or disagreement. And it came up with 3 amazing bullet points summarizing exactly the types of topics that we were skirting around. And I shared it with the partner that was in the meeting with us, and they were blown away at how useful it was. So we'll be doing that. But please, yes, I'm going to stop sharing now, and then I'm going to be sharing the Chat GPT that I'm going to be starting with over there. So I'm just going to paste in the chat the prompt that I used up front, and it's a very simple prompt. For those of you that have never used Chat GPT before, it's a really good place to start. So I literally said to the engine, this is the first time I'm using Chat GPT. Can you give me an introduction and help me to get the most out of your services? Now, remember, the biggest difference between the chat engines and, for example, Google is that Google is using searches. So you will put in a search request, and that will go out and search and find content for you and present it back to you in the browser. The difference with the chat engine is that you're talking to it and basically engaging in a conversation. So you ask questions and the AI engine will respond. So it's not going to give you hyperlinks. It basically can summarize information for you. It can find content. It generates new content for you every time. So if you've asked that question for the first time in the history of that AI engine, it is the first time that it's creating that content for you. So it really is difficult for some people to comprehend and understand that. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly. I hope you can see it. If you can't see it, please just let me know, raise your hand or put something in the chat. So literally this is what I got. Thank you, Sharon. So literally I said, this is the first time I'm using ChatGPT, and you can see how ChatGPT, it welcomes me. It says, I'm here to assist you with a wide range of tasks. What can I do? I can answer questions, provide recommendations, assist with learning, creative writing. If you need a story or a poem, I can craft creative content for you based on your prompts. I think, as Sharon mentioned earlier, obviously you can see, those of you that have been using AI for a while, you can see where somebody is just using AI to generate content. So you as a human being that is unique, you need to put your own sort of signature into it as well. So you can't, I mean, as a kid in school, if you're copying somebody else's homework, you don't do it verbatim. You don't copy it. And I'm not trying to encourage you to cheat. But obviously, it's really obvious. I mean, when I was at university, we had to do psychometric assessments. Some people even copied the student next to them ID number. So they wrote their own name, but put the other student's ID number in and then copied them. So yeah, they were not very good at that, which is quite funny. So put your own element on it. It says obviously current events. And then this is the amazing thing, is that it can handle multiple languages. And for a lot of people at one stage, it felt like English was becoming very dominant from a business perspective. A lot of the customers that I'm engaging with, specifically, for example, in Spain and Denmark, it was really difficult for them to accept that Microsoft was so English. And they always wanted to know from a translation perspective, when is the solutions that Microsoft is developing going to be available in their home language? And it took a really long time. And for many sort of smaller languages or smaller countries, it was not available to them. But AI is making it rapidly easier and quicker to generate content in multiple languages. So even from a cultural perspective, it really picks up on cultural nuances as well, much better than previous versions of AI. So it really is effective. Something that AI is recommended is also be very specific in the prompts that you make. Ask follow-up questions, and that builds on what I said a little bit earlier, is you need to build a relationship with the AI. If it's not giving you the prompts with the engineering feedback that you wanted, tell it like that. Say to that, if it gives you a whole page of content, say, please summarize it into a shorter paragraph, use 100 words, use it as if you're explaining it to a 10-year-old child or a 14-year-old child, and it can basically change the prompt and accommodate the information that you're looking at. You've heard the saying that computers do what you tell them to, not what you want them to, and that is why you need to just explain to the AI engine exactly what it is you're looking for. Also providing context. If you start preparing content for school children, let the AI engine know that. If you're presenting to senior leaders who are very strategically minded, say it that way as well. And you will see the AI engine will modify and change the vocabulary, the sentiment, the professionalism as well. You can say to it, be very casual or be very formal and professional, and it will change the way it gives you the feedback as well. Use examples as well. So if, for example, you're saying to it, I'm looking for an idea to come up with a new business, but can you give me an example of, for example, setting up a website or creating short stories that I want to publish and make money from? And the AI engine will be able to help you and give you far more detailed information. It even gives you examples of how you could interact with it. And then, of course, it also, without me prompting, gives me ethical guidelines in terms of what I should and shouldn't do, which is really phenomenal. And I know from a Microsoft perspective as well, we really push that too. So let's jump to the next prompt. So the next prompt I'm going to ask it is basically, I'm wanting to start a new business. Can you help me with a few new ideas? And the really wonderful thing is that the AI engine immediately, without me prompting it, comes up with a number of very interesting suggestions. So it says, absolutely, I'd be happy to help you brainstorm some new business ideas. It says, immediately starting to prompt me and say, what is it that you are interested in? What are your hobbies and passions? Do you have any specific skills or expertise? Now, that is because I wasn't clear in my prompt. If I'd said in the prompt, I have a background in consulting and I'm not that technologically proficient, I don't really know how to develop any reporting tools or code or write programs, it would be able to adjust and see it specifically that way. I also didn't tell it how much of a budget I had. So if I say I've got £10,000 or 10,000 Rand to start up the business, it would be able to recommend and tweak the feedback that way. So it is basically suggesting that I give it more detail in a very diplomatic way. In terms of different areas, so it doesn't just give me business ideas, it even talks about the background or the areas. It says, do I want a service-based business, product-based business? It's talking about technology and online business, even health and wellness. creative and craft-based businesses, environmentally friendly. So this is for you, Donna, eco-friendly and sustainable businesses, food and beverage, educational services as well. So let's say, so this is, I'm going to sort of do this live. Let's see, Kerry, Kim has said, please zoom in on the shared screen so that we can see it better. Typing is a bit small. Really sorry, Kim. We did try to share it in Teams so that you could go in and switch back and forth, but it wasn't working for some people. We will be sharing the slides afterwards, though, so you can get the PDF version of that. Kerry's saying you can often see when something has been written by ChatGPT. How do we teach it to give responses in the wording unique to each person? So basically, as I mentioned a bit earlier, Kerry, you can say to it, basically set it at the level of a 12-year-old child or as a teenager. Or you can see the opposite. You can say, I'm doing this for a very senior group of people. They're very strategic, so please make it very professional and sort of use more advanced words and advanced vocabulary, and it can do it that way as well. Shanna's asking, if you speak to the engine the same way you speak to humans, I found it picks up my way of talking. Absolutely, Shanna. So you will see that it tries to mimic you and meet you where you are. So if you're using very complex, sophisticated, difficult words, it will respond that way. Even from a language perspective, some of the more advanced AI engines now allow you to talk to it. So you can talk to it in English, it'll respond to you in English. And if you ask it a question in Spanish or in Portuguese, it can respond and switch to Spanish or Portuguese immediately without even you asking it to. It will respond to you in the language that you're talking to it as well. So absolutely, it does that as well. So you can ask it to take it down a few notches, or you can ask it to be a lot more professional. So I'm just going to build on the prompt over here, and I'm going to say I have a budget of, let's say I've got $10,000 and I am interested specifically in what should we be in, let's say creating websites and social media support. And I push enter and let's see what it comes up with. Also, what's very interesting is if you have any spelling mistakes or typographical errors, the system is very forgiving. It understands inherently what you're asking, and it will be able to answer you even though you've got spelling mistakes in it. So you'll see a lot of the engines, as you start typing, you've got autocorrect. For some of them, they don't have the autocorrect. So you can type in whatever you want to, and the search engine amazingly is able to actually interpret it, and the AI is able to generate a response even with your spelling mistakes and typos in it. So here we go. It's saying, given your budget and interest in creating websites and social media, here are several business ideas. Now, remember, the first question I asked was around business ideas. So you can see, even though my second prompt I'm asking about, I've given it the budget and what I'm interested in, it remembers that I'm asking about starting a small business. So it will always refer back to it. And that's why for a lot of people, there's a little feature over here called New Chat. So every now and then, it can start giving you responses and you think, why is it responding this way? And then you forget that you started the chat asking about something very specific. So if you introduce a new topic, if you're wanting to start a new session or go into a brand new territory, remember to click on the new chat button. And then the amazing thing is on the left, you can go back historically to sort of chats that you asked months ago and go back and continue with that conversation as if literally you've only just started that conversation. You can go back and restart and continue that conversation you had. So if you get bored or you don't find it interesting anymore, you kind of lose interest and go away. And then suddenly a week or a month later, you think, do you know what? I was actually really interested in that idea. You don't need to start from scratch. You can go back to that history and continue as if you sort of last spoke to it a day ago. here it's recommending a website design and development agency. And remember, it's based on the budget that I put in. So it's talking about WordPress and CSS and JavaScript, which I don't really know about. Look, I know a little bit about it, but not much. Budget allocation, it's saying website and domain costs about $500 to set up. Software licenses, for Adobe Creative Cloud, it costs about $1,000. And then sort of it just gives you an idea of how you could allocate your £10,000. Social media management, it can give you sort of budget allocations again in terms of what it is there. Combination of website development and social media management, it's giving you ideas over here. Freelance platforms, local search engine optimization to optimize it. So let's say what are the typical job titles of people working in this field. And what it's going to do now, so what you can do here is if you want to, you can go onto LinkedIn and you can search and find people that are working in this industry. And that gives you an idea. If you look at their job titles and you look at how they describe the work that they do, it kind of gives an indication of what you sort of typically, if you were going to recruit people to do this type of work, the type of sort of job titles that these people have. So you can see you get a front-end developer and a back-end developer, web designer, UI or UX. So I know that stands for user interface and user experience. And that's the other nice thing, is that typically where it's using acronyms, it will explain that acronym as well. So it'll talk about a CMS, which is a content management system as well. SEO stands for search engine optimization. So obviously it's specified that before somewhere. And what's really nice is it's talking here about website development and social media support. So if you remember a few questions back, I asked it specifically about those two areas, and it remembers that, and it'll come up with that as well. And then once again, it's really beautifully combined both fields together, where it talks about growth hacking and marketing technologists. Now let's say what type of qualifications or experience would you need to become an expert in this field? And you can see how quickly, and for those of you who've used ChatGPT in the past, you can see how much quicker it is in responding. Also remember, we're using the first few prompts that you use, you're using the latest version of ChatGPT 4.0. The O stands for omnipotent, believe it or not, which does sound a little bit sort of brave to claim to be omnipotent, but sort of the AI people, OpenAI, are really doing a lot of good and changing the world. So formal education gives an idea of what you could study from a formal perspective, the types of diplomas or degrees you could do, and then if you don't want to follow the formal route, the type of online courses and certifications that you could do as well. From a technical development perspective, talking specifically about front-end coding. So that would be, for example, HTML, JavaScript, and those types of things. Then you have content creation and social media platforms and practical experience. Right. So that is phenomenal. It's really, really interesting. Then something I asked it to do is just give me a few examples of good and effective prompts. I'm going to paste that in the chat for you. I do encourage you to try that out. So you can see over here, it sort of speaks about creative writing. So how could you describe, when you're creative writing, something around character development or how to start a story? In terms of business marketing, if you were doing marketing analysis, it could tell you exactly how to do the analysis. Branded message, craft a compelling elevator pitch for a new eco-friendly cleaning product. So you can see here already it's coming up with really useful, helpful prompts. So feel free to ask it. It really is here to help you. Would you be able to design a logo for this business? Absolutely, Bruce. So you'd be able to ask. So unfortunately, some of this is paid for content. So I do have access through Microsoft to some of the sort of premium versions. There are a few free versions out there. So DALL-E 3, I think, does allow you to, I'll just type it in the chat. DALL-E 3 is OpenAI's engine that allows you to create content graphically, even videos and that type of thing. There's some freeware versions out there, some of them very primitive, but some of them really becoming more advanced. But typically what you find is in Afrikaans, they say niks for niks. So if you want a premium solution, you're going to have to pay a premium price for it. So that's the reality that we've got. What I'm going to do now is sort of really blow your mind. So I spoke very briefly to Sharon about this. What I did is I actually took a copy of the POPI Act and I uploaded it into Chat GPT, and I asked it to review the document and come up with any areas where it is confusing, where there's conflict, where there's ambiguity. You can see it's early in the morning here. Ambiguity or any legal loopholes. So there you go. So you can see over here, I uploaded the POPI Act. I got it off the, I think, I can't remember which government institution I got it off, but I literally got the original PDF version of the document. I uploaded it and I asked ChatGPT to critically analyze it. And you can see here, it's talking about definitions of biometrics, well defined, but the list could be more exhaustive or explicit. We talk about child in it. It's defined as a natural person under 18, but there is some clarification needed in terms of talking about legal competence. What does that mean? In terms of consent, defined as voluntary, specific, and informed, but what does informed mean? It needs to be more specific about that. Application interpretation, section 3 or 4, outline application and lawful processing of personal information. It should be clear how these sections interact with other existing laws to prevent conflicting interpretations. Document lists exclusions, but specifics on what constitutes journalistic, literary, or artistic purposes, that can be subjective. In terms of potential conflicts, rights of data outlined, but there can be conflicts between the rights of data subjects and operational requirements. I'm not great with legal. This doesn't really mean much to me, but I think for people that enjoy this type of thing, you can see how amazing it is. Legal loopholes, you can see sections 57 to 59 require responsible parties to notify the regulator. What happens if you don't? There's no real specific penalty for that, so very interesting. Transborder information flows is talking about regulation of personal information outside of South Africa, but there might be loopholes in enforcing this and monitoring it as well. Really interesting. Regulators' powers and duties, you can see it's given amazing feedback over here. So what you could do is say, how would you explain this act to a 14-year-old child? And what ChatGPT could do is basically make it a lot simpler. So it will say here, and you see it starts becoming a little bit more casual. Hi there. Imagine you have a secret diary where you want to write all your thoughts and feelings. What if someone took that diary without asking and shared the secrets with everyone? That would be pretty upsetting, right? So you can see it's written it for like a teenager, and it explains very basically what it's all about and how to do it, and even why it's important. So you can see it's really making it very, very simple. I hope that helps you. And if you ever wonder what version it is, if you just mouse over here, you can see I'm using ChatGPT 4.0 at the moment. There's Mini, but then the default is ChatGPT 3.5, which is the free version as well. So I'm just going to start up my version of Word. Let me just share it with you. And so typically what you would see is you should see Copilot over here on your taskbar if you're paying for Copilot. So you need to pay for Copilot, or your company would need to pay for Copilot for you to be able to view it. Or when you start Word up, you should see the little Copilot icon over here. So I will click on that now. I'm going to type in a little prompt over here, and I'll paste it in the chats as well. So I'm basically saying to it, I want to create a proposal for an import-export business between South Africa and the UK. Please cover aspects such as imports and export duty, taxation implications, profitability and investment and time required. Suggest governing bodies, possible funding sources, grants and incentives. So if I click generate now, Copilot is basically going to be going ahead and building this from scratch. Now, please realize it's the first time it's generating this content. It's not done it before. I'm asking it to do it very uniquely. So it's going to go ahead, and it doesn't really understand what it is I'm asking. It's going to go out to the internet, find information about South Africa, find information about the UK, look at the laws, regulations, legislation, and come up with a proposal and a solution for me. So you can see here, it's already got a lovely summary where it's talking about sort of what the document's about: import and export duty, taxation, profitability. So everything that I asked about, it's based on the assumption that the business will operate as a sole proprietorship. So if it's not, I need to say that. So if I'm wanting to create a listed company that'll be listed on the London Stock Exchange, I would need to be explicit and explain that as well. And you can see here it's created even specific rules and regulations that are currently in place between the UK and the EU, trade agreements that are in place. You can see even giving dates of fairly recent information that it's got over here. And obviously, I could have done this in PowerPoint as well, but I just find as a start, Copilot is really good. If I wanted to, I could save this Word document and in PowerPoint say, please create slides based on the following proposal. And we don't have time, unfortunately, but PowerPoint would be able to go in and do that as well. But I mean, look at this. How long did it take me to do this? And it's a really high quality document, 6 pages. It's still busy working on it. And the nice thing is now is I can keep it. I can ask it to add more information if I want to. I could ask it to simplify it. I could ask it to expand it. It really is amazingly flexible. So unfortunately, we're at time now. So Neil is just asking, the way you construct your prompts is super helpful as a guide for someone who hasn't used ChatGPT. Thank you for giving us this masterclass. Absolutely, Neil. That's why I'm here. And that's why I'm part of the chamber, is I love giving back and helping and supporting and boosting creativity and that type of thing. And Sharon, I'm going to stop talking now. So if I can hand back to you. It was really wonderful meeting you all. Please keep in touch and look forward to seeing you in a few months at the next event.
So thanks very much. And to everybody else with us, enjoy your holiday season as well. Thank you very much. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, Sharon. Bye, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.